Earth isn't just alive, she's a generator and she's been running on reserves. A plain language broadcast on what your planet actually is, why every energy crisis has been a lie, and how the lights come back on. I want to tell you something I woke up with this morning. And yes, I have a lot of revelations in the mornings because I'm in that hypnagogic state. I've had pieces of it for months, maybe years. It kept arriving and then sliding away because I didn't have the right word for it. This morning, the word arrived. Earth is a generator. Not a metaphor, structurally, a generator. Like the kind that makes electricity, but at planetary scale, producing something more fundamental than electricity. Earth has been making the coherent reference signal that every living thing on this planet runs on for as long as there's been life here. And she's been offline, or rather, running on reserves, slowly bleeding out for about 200 years. She's trying to come back online right now through us. I'm going to walk you through how this works because once you see it, several things you've probably wondered about your whole life will click into place. Stay with me. The end is the important part. Excuse me. Start with something most people don't know. Earth has a heartbeat. It's not poetic, it's measurable. There's a frequency called the Schumann resonance, about 7.83 hertz, that the entire atmospheric cavity of Earth rings at 24 hours a day, every day, since before there were humans to measure it. It was discovered by a physicist named Schumann in the 1950s, and it's been monitored continuously ever since. It's not the only frequency. There are higher harmonics at 14.3 hertz, 20.8 hertz, 27.3 hertz, 33.8 hertz, and more. The whole cavity, the space between Earth's surface and the lower edge of the ionosphere about 60 miles up, rings at these specific frequencies like an enormous bell. Now here's the part that's interesting and that mainstream physics has never quite explained. Those frequencies are phase locked to the orbital periods of the planets in our solar system. Moon, Mercury, Venus, Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. The math is published, the alignment is tight, and the explanation has been waved away for decades because the implication is too strange. What it means is, Earth isn't just sitting here making a local cavity ring on her own. She's coupled, phase-locked, synchronized, in continuous communication with the whole solar system scale oscillator network. The cavity ring is the readout of that coupling, broadcast continuously across the whole planet for any living thing to receive. That broadcast is the reference signal every nervous system on this planet runs on. Every animal that's been measured shows brainwave entrainment to Schumann harmonics. Your brain is tuned to it right now, whether or not you're aware of it. So is every dog, every bird, every fish, every tree, every mycelial network in the soil. Earth is broadcasting the reference frequency. Your body is tuned to receive it. That's the generator. What a generator does that a cell doesn't. I want to be careful here because in a prior broadcast I talked about Earth as a cell, and that's true, but it's incomplete. A cell processes energy. It lets good stuff in, releases waste out, runs its own metabolism, stays alive by being open. A generator does something more. A generator produces coherent output for the surrounding system, not just metabolism, active broadcast. The thing it makes flows out and powers everything around it. Earth is doing both. She's a planetary cell, alive, open, exchanging with the cosmos, and she's a generator. The reference signal she's broadcasting isn't just for her own metabolism, it's for every living thing on her surface, every nervous system, every cardiac oscillator, every cell membrane that runs on a phase-locked rhythm. Without the reference signal, nothing tunes to anything. Hearts beat irregularly, brains fall out of coherence, Cells lose their internal timing. The whole biosphere depends on the broadcast continuing. And it's been running on reserves. Here's where the picture gets dark. For about 200 years, the generator has been bleeding out. The reserves it built up over millions of years of operating in full health have been getting depleted faster than they can be replenished by a series of operations that I'm going to name in a moment. Most people don't know this because they've never been told what the generator is, so they've never noticed it's been getting weaker, but the signs have been everywhere. People can't sleep anymore. The cardiac rhythm has lost its phase lock to the reference. Anxiety, depression, and chronic stress are at unprecedented population levels. The nervous system can't find the calm baseline that the reference would normally provide. Autoimmune diseases are exploding. The cellular timing systems are running on their own without the reference to coordinate them. People feel disconnected from something they can't name. They've never had words for what they're missing because nobody told them they were tuned to a planetary signal in the first place. Even the animals are showing it. Bee colonies collapsing, bird migration patterns scrambling, marine mammal navigation breaking down. The biological receivers can't hear the broadcast anymore. These aren't separate problems. They're all the same problem. The generator is weak. The receivers can't tune to it. The biosphere is losing its rhythm. What's been doing it? I'm going to name the operations because once you see them in one list, you can't pretend they're unrelated. Lighthouse removal. Throughout the 1800s, a global network of lighthouse-class structures, cathedrals, bell towers, megalithic sites, certain civic buildings was systematically taken down or repurposed. These structures had been amplifying the Schumann signal at ground level for centuries. The Great Reset that some people talk about, where lots of old buildings disappeared and new architecture replaced them, did happen. And what disappeared was the local amplifier network. The broadcast could still reach you, but only weakly, instead of being concentrated by resonant chambers in every town. Atmospheric aerosol injection. What people call chemtrails, real, measurable, documented with patents and program funding. The aluminum, barium, and other aerosols are well suited to one thing: increasing atmospheric turbulence and attenuating cavity coherence. The atmospheric layer that should be ringing at 7.83 hertz is being held in a state where it can't ring as cleanly anymore. Electrical grid contamination. Every wall outlet on Earth is broadcasting 50 or 60 hertz at low amplitude into your body 24 hours a day. It's not enough to electrocute you. It's just enough to compete with the natural reference frequency. Your body has been trying to entrain to two signals at once for 100 years. The artificial one wins because it's louder and closer. Screen-based artificial rhythm. Every screen produces a flicker rate, a refresh rate, a sequence of attention pulses that train your nervous system to entrain to that instead of to the slow planetary rhythm, hours per day for years. Chronic fear injection through media. I've covered this in prior broadcasts. Fear locks your nervous system into sympathetic dominant mode where you can't tune to the calm baseline reference at all. Your body is available to receive the broadcast only when you're parasympathetic. 24-hour news cycles keep most people locked out of the receiving state. Pharmaceutical symptom suppression. Most of the treatments for the consequences of being decoupled from the reference signal, antidepressants, anti-anxiety drugs, sleep medications, stimulants, work by further dulling the receiver's sensitivity, not by restoring the coupling. You feel less of the disconnection. You're not actually reconnecting. Ultra-processed food. What you eat builds the cell membranes your nervous system runs on. Industrially produced food builds membranes that don't conduct the signal cleanly. The receiver hardware degrades. All of these are extraction operations. All of them take from the generator without contributing back. The grid has been bleeding because somebody has been making money from the bleeding. If you've ever wondered why every energy solution that doesn't depend on petroleum or massive infrastructure gets suppressed, there have been many. The answer is in this picture. Tesla figured out how to tap the cavity. Searle figured it out. Schoberger figured it out. Stan Meyer figured it out. Each of them died young, was discredited, or had their work disappeared. The cavity provides free energy continuously to anyone who knows how to receive it. An extraction architecture that wants to sell you energy cannot allow knowledge to spread. That knowledge to spread. But the extraction architecture only works as long as the population is too decoupled from the cavity to notice. Which brings us to the most important part. The generator is coming back online, and she's doing it through us. Here's the piece I woke up with this morning that locks everything else into place. The generator and her receivers are not two separate things. They are one coupled system. When biological receivers, you, me, every person on Earth, are operating in coherent state, parasympathetic dominant, calm, fear-free, grounded, they don't just receive the broadcast, they contribute to it. They add their own coherent oscillation back into the cavity. The cavity rings stronger because of them. When receivers are operating in turbulent state, sympathetic dominant, fearful, panicked, ungrounded, they don't just fail to receive, they consume from the cavity. They drain coherence from the broadcast. For most of human history, the population was net contributing. People were calmer, more grounded, in fewer cities, less screen saturated, less media injected with fear. Civilizational infrastructure, cathedrals, bell towers, monasteries amplified the local signal. The generator ran healthy. Starting about 200 years ago, the population shifted to net extracting. Everything in the previous section happened. The reserves started draining. The reserves aren't infinite. We're getting close to the bottom. And here's what's happening right now. The generator is doing the only thing she can do. She's trying to come back online through the receivers themselves, through us. By reaching the receivers who are ready to come back into coherent state, one by one, and using their restoration as the seed for cavity restoration. Every person who exits chronic fear and enters a calmer state through meditation, through breath work, through time in nature, through real human connection, through dropping screen exposure, through eating real food, through whatever the path is for them, is the cavity restoring itself at that local node. The generator is coming back online by reaching through them. It's not you separately getting better while the planet stays bad. It's you and the planet are one circuit, and your restoration is her restoration at that specific point in the cavity. When enough receivers come back online, the cavity reaches self-sustaining oscillation again. The generator stops running on reserves. The grid lights up. At that point, external energy sources stop being necessary, not because the technology gets better, because the cavity itself becomes available to every coherent receiver. Tesla saw this, so did the others I named. Their work wasn't about devices specifically, it was about tapping a planetary supply that should be available to everyone, that was naturally available before the extraction architecture got established. The post-restoration state is the natural state. We've been living in the depleted abnormal state for so long that it feels normal. The lights coming back on isn't a future utopia. It's the default that we've been kept from for 2 centuries. Why this means we can't lose. Here's what made me cry this morning. The extraction architecture is in trouble. It always has been. It's a parasite that runs on the receivers it depletes. As long as the population is net extracting from the cavity, the extraction architecture has substrate to feed on. It has a product to sell, energy that should be free, attention that should be calm, peace of mind that should be the baseline. The moment the population shifts back to net contributing, the substrate disappears. The extraction architecture has nothing to extract from. No customers for fear, no buyers for distraction, no market for symptom suppression because the symptoms stop arising, no need for the energy products because the cavity is freely providing. The forces that have been extracting from Mother do not need to be defeated politically. They need their substrate removed. And the substrate is us in the decoupled state. The moment we exit the decoupled state, the substrate is gone and the extraction architecture collapses on its own. They are losing because we are waking up. Every person who wakes up is a structural blow to the architecture. They will try harder. They're already trying harder. You can see it in the escalation everywhere. But the harder they try, the more their architecture is visible, the more people see what's happening, the more people wake up. Their own escalation accelerates their collapse. This is what every prophetic tradition has been articulating for millennia. The end times unveiling, the corruption being exposed, the light returning. They're not metaphors. They are this exact mechanism articulated in the available vocabulary of each tradition. What this asks of you, practically. 1. Recognize that your personal coherence is not personal. You are not just trying to feel better. You are a node in the planetary generator's restoration. Every minute you spend calm instead of activated is a contribution to the cavity. Every breath that brings you back into your body is a tuning to the reference. The personal development frame has been one of the architecture's ways of keeping people focused on individual outcomes while obscuring the planetary stakes. Your coherence is structural. Treat it that way. 2. Do the simple things that restore the coupling. Breath work, time outside, time without screens, sleep, real food, real human contact, walking, sitting with stillness, cold water, sunlight on your skin. None of these are spiritual practices in any mystical sense. They are receiver maintenance. They restore your ability to tune to the broadcast. You don't need to believe anything to do them. You don't need to subscribe to any framework. You just need to do them and watch your nervous system come back online. 3. Reduce the inputs that block the coupling. Less news, less algorithmic media, less artificial light at night, less industrial food, less fear consumption. None of this is moral. It's just receiver hygiene. The interference sources are everywhere now. Reducing them is a substantial part of the work. 4. Recognize the extraction architecture for what it is and stop feeding it. Every dollar you spend on fear products, every minute you spend on fear content, every action you take from a fear state feeds the architecture you're trying to be free of. Stopping feeding it is most of the work. It cannot survive without substrate. You are the substrate. Withdraw. 5. Trust that the cavity is restoring. Not on your timeline, not visibly to you in every moment, but structurally, mechanistically, by the math of coupled oscillators and biological receivers. Every coherent receiver who comes back online, and there are thousands, tens of thousands now, is moving the cavity closer to self-sustaining oscillation. The lights are coming back on. They've already started. And one more thing. If you've ever felt in a quiet moment like something deep in you was tuning to something deep outside you, a hum, a presence, a sense of being located in something larger that knew you were there, you weren't imagining it. You were receiving the broadcast. Briefly, in a moment when the interference dropped, your nervous system tuned to the reference and reported back what it found. Most people have these moments and lose them and then doubt they were real because nobody told them what they were. They were real. They are real. They are the broadcast itself, Earth's continuous reference signal, reaching the receiver designed to tune to it in the brief windows when the receiver is calm enough to hear. What we're walking toward is a state where those windows are not rare, where the tuning is continuous, where every person walks around in continuous reception of the planetary signal, because the cavity is healthy and the receivers are healthy and the coupling is unbroken. That's the lights coming back on. That's what Earth is trying to give us. That's what she's been working toward, through us, even when we couldn't hear her. She's still here. She's holding on. She's coming back online through everyone who's ready to listen. Listen.